guys, welcome to my second video ever on my brand new mixed content focused channel called Mixed by Genetics. I got my girl from across the pond, Victoria Rain. Please go to her channel and like and subscribe. She does mixed content. She does language videos. She does daily vlogs. It's just amazing. I don't know why you're not already subscribed, but do it now because, you know, we all love here. In this video, we are going to react to a YouTuber. Her name is FlowerTower. And in this video, she basically is talking about how biracial is the new black. So we're going to watch this video and then we're going to react to it and tell you as mixed women what we think about this conversation and topic. So we're going to go ahead and start the video and then we will come back and then we'll start with Victoria so she can unpack her suitcase of logic and feelings. And we will discuss what we believe is happening in this video.
This is exactly why people need to be careful before they get into interracial relationships. Growing up, my life was the same way. I was raised predominantly around white people, white schools, yada, yada, yada. I got racist shit said to me all the time, and my mom never stood up for me. And it's still happening to this day. My mom just started learning about white supremacy 6 months ago, or a year ago when everything started happening. And then last night, she let her black boyfriend tell me that my experience as a black woman is not real and no one else has that experience. And if you're just educated and comply, then you won't have an issue in life. A black man. Black men and white women are on the same wavelength. Privileged because of one aspect, oppressed because of another. But as a black woman, I am both oppressed because of my gender and my ethnicity. And that is something my white mom will never understand, nor does she care to understand. White moms of black kids need to understand this.
There is a lot to talk about here, but the first thing I want to point out is that, in a way, the black man who said whatever he said to her was right. Her experience as a black woman doesn't exist because she's not a black woman. We hear that all the time from black men, right? And you know, he was belittling the very valid experiences of actual black women. But in a way, he did the wrong work, but he got the right answer. You know what I'm saying? So he was on some boo-booery, but what he said is true. Her experience as a black woman isn't real. It isn't valid because she's not a black woman. In order to have an experience as a black woman, you must be a black woman. That's like me sitting around here talking about, yeah, my experience as an Asian woman. What? I'm not Asian? How do I have an experience as an Asian woman when I'm not Asian, right? And y'all, this one drop rule is getting to the point where it is becoming dangerous. And let me explain this to you guys, seriously. Let me just bring up another example really quickly. Drake the rapper is half African American and half white, right? He had a child with a white woman. His child is 3/4 white and 1/4 black. And there are people, a lot of people, I made a video about this. Oh my God, y'all, I gotta find it and put the little thing up here. There are a lot of people who will say that Drake's son is black. You guys, they'll be like, well, his daddy is black, so he's black. His daddy not black. First of all, his daddy is biracial, first of all. And biracials are, his daddy not even black. How are you black with a white parent and a biracial parent? And the reason I say this is dangerous is because, one, there is an erasure of actual black women occurring, right? There is an erasure of real black women when non-black women like this claim that they are black, right? And two, there's an erasure of black people, period. Because when people like this and Drake's son go and apply to scholarships, they're going to say they're black and get them, knowing that they're not and they don't deserve them, right? It's so crazy to me because, like I said, I can look at somebody and tell if they're black. And the gag is, you all can too, but you pretend you can't because of the inferiority complex that so many black people have. So many black people hate everything about themselves, their skin color, their hair textures, etc., 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 right? And that's not you guys' fault. That's what society has taught us to do, right? With this whole Eurocentric standard of beauty stuff, right? And it's very sad, but this is my thing. If she came up to me and said she was black and I said, no, you are not, a bunch of black people will come to her defense. This has literally happened before, right? They will be like, blackness comes in all shades. If Miley Cyrus say she black, then she black too. Cause if you got one job of black and you identify with the culture, then you black. What, bro? And then y'all don't realize that y'all don't realize how damaging that is, bro. And it's so crazy because y'all never think about it, right?
Okay, so Victoria. We're back on the train,
Yes.
train of feelings. I want to know, just unpack right now from your suitcase, from the long journey that was watching that video. What do you think about the points that she made?
So I think off the top, the thing that's kind of frustrating is there are seeds of truth, seeds of things I agree with, things I've said myself in various videos, but then it's surrounded by a whole lot of what? Like, for example, I am the biggest advocate of mixed race people having their own space. I am the biggest advocate for mixed race people not taking the place of Black people. I've said this in other videos because it dilutes what Blackness is. It changes the beauty standards for Blackness. And also it robs things from not only the Black side, but the mixed race side, like achievements in terms of like the first Black person to do this, the first mixed race person to do that. However, the delivery of the message and the words used and the sentiment behind it was coming from a place that felt racist in some ways. For example, the constant referral to the TikToker as Biracial Becky, and plug, we just did a video on my channel talking about this term, Biracial Becky. And to me, this phrase, this name is very much a racial slur against mixed race people. And I think for me, if you're giving an argument, the second you kind of do character assassination, you bring in race undertones, you kind of lose the argument for me. So even though what you're saying, I can see your point, I agree with it, I think the delivery really was just too much for me in terms of it felt very anti-everything. And the other thing I didn't really agree with was the assumption with her dad, the TikToker's dad. So the first point the YouTuber made was that the father had got the right answer, but the wrong way of getting there or something. Because she said, oh, he probably meant this, that, and this. But unless you've spoken with the dad, you don't know what he meant. Okay, he might have tried to be raising her as a mixed race woman. And that's why he was saying, well, you don't have the same experience as a Black woman because you're mixed race. And I think another thing that stood out for me, I'm trying to remember everything. And another thing that stood out was when she was saying how she can't relate, or she doesn't have this experience of a Black woman. And I'm not saying she does or she doesn't, because I don't know what she has or hasn't experienced. However, neither does she. And so you don't know where she grew up, because for some racist people, they don't care what you are. You could be the whitest white person looking, but as soon as they hear you got one piece of something in you, that's it. They don't like you. They're being racist. It doesn't really matter what you look like to some racist people. So to say that you don't know what you don't know what it's like to be a Black woman. We don't know what shoes that this woman's walked in. So we can't really argue that point. And another thing I really wanted to flag before I forget was the point she made where she can tell mixed race people. And she was like, I can look at a mixed race person and I can know what they are and if they're mixed race or not. And this made me laugh for two reasons. One, because as a mixed race person, even I struggle sometimes, because some people you just can't tell. The amount of times someone will be like, oh yeah, they're mixed race. I'm like, stop the press. What? And it made me laugh because when I knew that we were looking at this YouTuber, I did do a binge on some of her other videos because I kind of wanted to get a more holistic view of her channel. Questionable was the result of that view. And one of the videos, she said that she didn't realize Barack Obama was mixed.
I'm the son of a Black man from Kenya and a white woman from Kansas. I have brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, uncles, and cousins of every race and every hue scattered across 3 continents.
I found this funny because I knew he was mixed. As soon as I saw him, I was like, that's a mixed man. No one can tell me any different. and at first, people were like, no, but he's black. I'm like, no. That man is mixed. And then it finally came out that he was mixed race. So it did make me laugh that in one video, she's saying that she's the mixed radar savior. And in another video, she's saying she couldn't tell Barack Obama was mixed race. So which is it? I don't know. It's a lot. What did you think?
All of that. But no, like I did think that was interesting that she was like, I can always tell. And I'm like, well, I mean, I can never tell. I'm gonna be real with you. I mean, you literally have to spell it out for me because so many different cultures look so similar, especially when you're an ambiguous mixed person, that you can't tell what a person is just by looking at them. And it's kind of ignorant to make that assumption. And I remember one of the biggest things that shocked me when I was growing up was the show Saved by the Bell. And remember Zach's actor. We always saw him as this white guy with blonde hair. You had no idea that his mother was like, I think she's Indonesian or something like that. And like, now that I go back and look at it, you see, the hair he has like the dark roots or whatever in his hair. It tracks now. But back then, I never would have placed that. He was just another white guy on the show. So, I don't get that at all. But there's a lot of problematic things for me. And like you said, she did do a lot. Like she made some valid points in terms of mixed people needing their own space, because we do. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, she did it in a way that was so like chastising. And it was almost like we are solely responsible for the death of Black culture. And I'm like, that is crazy. So I feel like the points that she made in terms of, us needing our own space, very, very valid. We see it across the board. I mean, throughout history, you'll see so many people that are said to be monoracial. And I'm not just talking about mixed people that are half white and half Black. I mean, every half POC culture. They always give the POC part kind of like the credit instead of crediting it to the person who's actually mixed. I'm not saying you got to go down the white European route. I'm just saying the first mixed person growing up would have been amazing for me, because it almost felt like we did nothing. Like we were, if you take American history, the only thing that they would talk about is, I hate this word, but mulattoes, and how they were basically created when the slave owners had their way with the slaves. And, that's pretty much, they were the taboo people that people felt sorry for because they were trapped between being a slave and never being accepted by their white master's family. So then what were you? Oh, you worked in the house, just stuff like that. And I've heard that my whole life. We never heard about all of these historical figures that were mixed who did things. And I mean, to me, how is that not cultural genocide in a way? Yeah. Because you're taking that from us. And what's so interesting is if we don't identify as what our POC side is, because that's how it has to be in this country. Unless you look completely white, you have to go the POC route. If you identify as that monoracially, and a lot of mixed people do, because they are pressured, they are taught in society that they have to ramp up those numbers. We do it. And then we have a lot of kind of like, I guess a good term of saying is we kind of get a lot of feedback, because it's not always negative. Sometimes it is positive. And she pointed out in this video that you will have people, like in this case, since we're both part Black, we'll just say, we'll have the Black community saying, hey, those girls are Black. They got that one drop. They're Black. But you're always going to have the criticism of, like this video, no, they're not. So you've got this infighting. So you're like, so what do you do? This is the valid point she's making. It's like, for a biracial woman, you're like, okay, I don't want to say I'm the first editor of this newspaper, the first Black editor of this newspaper. And then, I don't know, maybe Amelia, who actually is Black, comes up behind me and she's the second. And they're looking at Amelia and then looking at me and they're like, wait, something doesn't track here. And I agree with that, because I have, and I've said this in every one of my videos, especially ones we've made, I have entitlement that I'm ambiguous. So I don't look white, but I don't look Black. I look like I could be any other POC with dark hair and light skin. So I don't go through the same racism as this woman would go through if we were pulled over by the police. Now, to be fair, they might throw me in the van with ICE and try and take me across the border, but still racist as hell. But I'm never going to have that. I'm never going to be pulled over and treated like a Black person. I'm 45 years old. It has never happened. So I do see that point that she's making. But my problem is, and you can see this in some of her other videos too, what she's not saying in this one is that she basically blames the Black people who get with, people outside of their ethnicity, their race. I know it's a construct. And she says that they are doing it because they have self-hatred. They, they want to kind of adhere to this European standard of beauty. And they think if they can't do it through themselves, they'll procreate and make children that will, be accepted. And that's kind of like their ticket to that world and blah, blah, blah. Like we're a stepping stone, into this wonderful world of entitlement when we are literally struggling all the time just to have our own damn space. And I don't understand why she's coming across with a message we're trying to come across too. But now I feel dirty, saying it, because now I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman is racist.
Yes.
And she's making points that I'm making, and then it makes you feel bad about the points you're making. So I'm in my feelings a lot. Like, I don't want to relate to somebody who thinks that interracial relationships are wrong and they're just basically done through self-hatred and all of that, and not loving yourself and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm having a lot of issues with some of the points that she's making in this video, and a lot of her videos, honestly. I
was going to say, because as I said earlier, I did check out some of her other videos, and another thing that really frustrates me is we are literally damned if we do, damned if we don't, because I said before in another video, I could easily sit back and say, listen, hands up, I'm just going to say, like we mentioned with the video that you just put, your first video on this channel, I'm just going to say I'm black and I'm not going to be bothered. I'm just going to sit here, chill under the black umbrella, as was said in the other video. But I don't, because I know that I'm mixed race, and I feel it's very, very important to claim that space, because that's my space. And I'm not going to claim a space that's not mine. However, that doesn't stop me from being able to speak up on other issues. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop fighting if I see injustice being done, maybe in the Black community or in a different community, because I'm still a human who has a voice and a brain. But when I watched the other videos, it was almost like, you're not Black, so you can't speak on Black matters. And I'm like, but that's not how anything gets solved. That's not how change happens. Nothing can work unless we all work together. But it's almost like you're being sort of ostracized for wanting to help, but also wanting to be proud of who you are and not sort of submitting to the will of society and saying, okay, fine, I'll listen to what you're saying. And I think, and I really did want to touch on it, what you said a bit earlier, was the cultural genocide of sort of the mixed race people in history. And that, for me, does feed into the issue we have now, because I was the exact same. At school, I was like, so what did we do in history?
Nothing. We've accomplished nothing, apparently.
And then, like, I would see the photos of these people or the drawings. I'm like, okay, these people are mixed, guys. These are mixed people. But I'm told, no, they're not mixed. They're this or they're that. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they're mixed. But we're not allowed to claim these people. And so for us, we have no one to look up to. We have zero people.
We had Mariah Carey. That was it. Honestly, and that wasn't till later.
But there's a film, I think I mentioned this like way back. There's a film called Belle, which is a English film about the first non-white aristocrat in the UK. And honestly, when I saw this film, and it was sparked from a painting, if you Google it, guys, you'll see it. And what it was a white girl with a little, what looked like Black or mixed girl in the corner, which sparked the film, because it was like, wow, why is there a non-white person in this aristocrat painting? She was mixed, half Jamaican, half white. And I was like, the heavens had opened. I was like, oh my God, there's someone in history I can relate to. Because honestly, and this is something that I think some people can relate to who aren't mixed, but unless you're mixed, it's very hard to describe the feeling of having zero representation. And instead, when you do have mixed race people, they're not portraying you, they're being made to portray, or they're choosing to portray a different race. It's a hard struggle. So then when we're now standing up and saying, we're here, this is our space, and then we're being slapped down for that, it's like we're fighting a war on two fronts, okay? And I'm getting very passionate now.
Well, no, and like the accuracy, it just bothers me, because I can see if we were just like projecting, saying, oh, they look like us, this is how we think this normal standard of mixedness looks, which is stupid because there is not one. But, we come in all, look, like she said with black, we come in all shades and flavors, But, we are actually talking about people who just had parents that didn't match. I mean, it's just genetics. As we said in the other video, it's not that hard, people. So when you have somebody who has a parent that is not the same ethnicity as the other, by definition, they are mixed. And when you don't call them mixed, when you decide to say they are this and that, you had this conversation. You did not discuss this with these people. You had this conversation. That is entitlement.
Yes.
And the fact that people do not understand that, I don't get it. So I will say, again, I have a lot of problems with this YouTuber, but she made a valid point. And what really irritated me was she had more valid points than the actual mixed girl in the TikTok video. I was like, and then I was in my feelings. And now I was like, what? I can't even support this mixed person because she's in her feelings and she's wrong. Like, you are not. I am not going to say you don't experience racism because you do. I don't care if you were a person, if you're a mixed person, especially a POC, which, I know that there are mixed people that are half Polish, half French, blah, blah, blah. But when you are a half POC mixed person, you are going to go through something, whether it be imposter syndrome, whether it be you look basically look more one way than the other. Maybe people in your family that don't agree. Like my father, this is something that you don't hear. My father's family, they are half indigenous, half black. They disowned my father when he married my white European mother. It was not my mother's family. It was my father's family that disowned. Yeah. And so people are so used to hearing it the other way around, but it was 100% truth. And I'm disclaiming that because we get a lot of the time, oh, well, then you don't love your POC side. I can see why you would hate being that because you had that trauma. No, I claim my blackness. It's fine. I claim my blackness. I claim my indigenousness, all of that stuff. So like, I don't use what other people do. If anything, that showed me the ignorance in them. It made me accept myself even more. So I don't understand hiding behind that as an excuse, because I feel like as an individual, an educated person that researches, the world around them and makes their own informed decisions, you can choose who you are, what you are, and what you want to be. You don't let other people do it for you. So the people that kind of use those past experiences, not saying that experiences don't mold you, you have to overcome it to be who you want to be. And when you are a mixed person, I mean, you're already, people act like when you're mixed, it's like you were blessed by angels. I don't understand this. I don't get that at all. It's like, no, the journey is rough. If we were like being recruited for a football team, or if we were in, PE class, gym class, whatever, and everyone was picking teams, being a mixed person, it feels like you're always the last pick. You're the only one left on the field, so they have to take you. That's literally how you feel as a mixed person. You don't feel like you're like involved in all of these groups, that you're accepted in all of these groups. Hell, the BLM marches here. A lot of mixed people that look like me and whiter, they felt very conscious going to these marches for BLM, knowing that people are going to be looking at them like, why are you here? Even though there were other races that were helping and other ethnicities that were there. They had a lot of Asians, a lot of Latinos, Hispanics out there. There are white people out there marching, but the mixed people always feel like, do we have a place here? Can we march? Can we do this? Or people are going to ask us this question. And 9 times out of 10, a mixed person will always be asked why they're there more than a white person will. That is very interesting to me.
Wow. And just to link to that point, that is so obviously the BLM march and all that obviously started in America and then it spread across the world. So we had them here in London as well. And I mentioned this in, I think it was either maybe our first video or one of my old videos, but there was such a shift in the atmosphere around mixed race people and Black people in the UK. And as a mixed race person, I started to feel very uncomfortable because I started to see that there were a few Black British influencers, like YouTubers and stuff, who were making videos saying, basically, you're mixed, you don't understand, don't be part of BLM kind of thing. And it was very uncomfortable because it was so swift. It was like, well, yesterday we were fine, but today now we're not, we're hated. And just because I didn't want to think I was crazy, I literally messaged one of my close friends who's mixed race as well, and I said, is it me or is there a bit of a shift right now? And she messaged back straight away. She's like, yes. And she was saying how like she felt equally uncomfortable and like how it felt like we were suddenly the ones under attack when we didn't even do anything. We were trying to support.
I'm telling you. Why? We are not trying to destroy Black culture. I love Black culture. I went to all Black schools when my dad got out of the military, and like my neighborhoods were predominantly Black. You know, I have a diverse range of friends, but my closest friends are Black. It's not, I hate that part of myself. I don't have internal racism. It's just that I'm not scientifically challenged. I'm not biologically challenged. I know that it took two parents to make me. And so the other parent is just as valid. It's like the argument of, you know, what we talked about in the other video, saying that you're Black. If you have a Black mother, they can tell you your culture, but if you have a white mother, then you're just SOL. And I'm like, well, that is such an unfair thing, because if your mother is Black, do you expect your Black mother to educate you on your Dutch or your French or whatever other side your father is? Is it her place to educate you on that culture? No, nobody expects her to. But you expect the white mother to educate, you know, about the father's Blackness? How is that even a concept? How is that fair? I don't understand that. And that I feel like, honestly, I don't know. I'm just being a little ignorant here. I don't know if this translates to other mixed POCs. I don't know if a mixed person is half white, half Korean. If the white parent is responsible for, you know, more than likely, they probably are going to say something along the lines of, do they speak Korean or something like that? Oh, you know, because your mother's white or you're, you know, they might get that. But like, they don't have to have a historical breakdown, you know, of Korea, you know, in their mind for their child. It doesn't make sense to me. Because it doesn't make sense. It's the other parent's job to tell you who they are and where they came from. It is not, that is not the responsibility. My daughter is part Chinese and part Vietnamese on my her biological father's side. I will never tell her anything about China or Vietnam, and you can come at me. I don't care, because I don't know. Literally, I am the blind leading the blind. I can tell you where they are on the map. I can tell you the food is great that I've had. And honestly, I mean, I've had some traditional food, not just Americanized, but that's all I got for you. If you want to know more, you need to go to your father and his family and learn from them. That is how that connection is made. And if you are a person whose father ran away, because that's what I call it, deadbeatness, then you need to educate yourself by going out and meeting other people within that demographic. And when I say within the demographic, people that can teach you culture. I'm not talking about go on the street. Don't go in the hood and be like, hey, Johnny, teach me to be Black. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying find other people that can help you understand your culture without going to your other parent, because it is not their job. It's not how they were raised. They don't know. It's the blind leading the blind. So to have that expectation is just ignorant to me. I just always thought that was ignorant.
Right,
so,
I completely agree. I think so. For me, I'm just trying to think, like, everything I know about my white side has been taught by my white side, and everything I know about my Black side has been taught by my Black side. Like, how could I expect, for example, my mum to know where in Scotland we originated from? She'd be like, I don't know.
That's not her family. Well, yeah, like my mother was born in it's basically a town in Aberdeenshire called Cove Bay. So it's in Kincardshire, but so they're from Aberdeen, basically. The Highlands. Then a lot of them are still over there. I know this because they're on my Facebook. My mother has passed, but I mean, everything that I learned about Scotland came from my mother. There's no way that my father half black, half indigenous, born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, could tell me a freaking thing about what it was like living in Scotland as a white woman in the 50s. You know, that's just not going to happen. Just like there's no way that my European mother was going to tell me what it was like to be a black man or a black indigenous man growing up in the South. And my dad is black passing. He does not look indigenous at all. His father was indigenous, but he looks completely his mother's Nigerian American. So completely black. Nobody is going to be able to tell my mother what it was like to be a black man living in the South in the 50s. So to have that expectation, once again, is extremely ignorant. And nobody else has this expectation except for interracial families and their mixed kids. That gets on my effing nerves. It really does. It triggers things in me. Because I mean, I'm a parent, so I know what it's like to have these people think that they can tell you how to raise children anyway. But when you're in an interracial family, it's just like the pressure is even greater because they're like, oh, well, you're the reason your kid screwed up. I don't feel like I'm screwed up. I figure I got the best of both worlds, you know? So I don't get it. The other thing I want to discuss, because I don't know if we brought this up, was she mentioned scholarships and how, you know, she doesn't like the fact that mixed people take scholarships that are meant for Black people. What do you think about that?
So this is a very interesting thing. And it's also something I thought about before and mentioned in a previous video, because it's very hard for a mixed person because, well, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of scholarships that only target one race, because I feel like Black isn't the only race that is not fairly represented. Like, for example, Asians are also not represented all the time, things like that. So I'm not a huge fan of that anyway. But here it's slightly different. So here, on the top of my head, I think there's maybe one scholarship I can think of that is solely for Black people. But what they do here is they'll say it's a BAME scholarship. So basically anyone non-white can apply for it. So it makes it easier because as a mixed race person, you fall under that or catch-all bracket, basically.
Yeah.
But in terms of purely if it was a Black scholarship as a mixed race person, I really don't know, because on the one hand, I'm like, well, if we're fighting for mixed race people to have their space, then they shouldn't apply for something that is for Black people because it's for Black people and we're saying we're not Black. On the other hand, I'm like, well, then we're doubly losing because we're just losing on two fronts here, because we can't apply for things that are for white people. We can't apply for things that are for Black people. Where the hell can we apply?
No, that's absolutely true. That is, well, I used to think about that too when I was in college. They had not just, they would have projected scholarships just for Black people. They also had it for, of course, they call it Native American instead of Indigenous or First Nation. And I'm like, I didn't feel comfortable doing that either, because by me taking that scholarship, because I learned that people that were like 1/110th of a fifth of a person of a Native American blood could qualify for this scholarship. You didn't even need a tribal number. And so think about all the people that are on the reservation that actually need this money to go to college. And then here you are sitting here in your house with your parents, and you just want to have some extra money so you can go buy that at the time, PS3, PS4, whatever. So you apply for this scholarship, you know, so you can spend your Pell Grant money, you know, so now you're Native American scholar and you don't even look Native American, don't even practice the culture. You're not even in touch with that part of you because it's so small. I always felt that was extremely unfair. Yeah. And I feel that way also about applying for any scholarships that are geared toward being Black. I obviously wouldn't do it. First of all, there's not going to be a scholarship that's geared between being white in words. And verbiage. Now we may have the Tiffany Hobenton Foundation Scholarship, and we're like, yeah, that's definitely white. But and you know what? POCs apply for those. I'm just gonna put that out there. But if it's geared towards just somebody who's Black, this could be somebody who's in a neighborhood that is disadvantaged. And by me taking that, I'm putting somebody's ability to go to school, you know, in jeopardy. Yeah. So yeah, I am very sensitive to that. And again, as mixed people, we want to have our own stuff. I've never seen anything that says multiracial scholarship for never. I've never seen it, and probably never will. So it's weird.
Because because I was thinking of like when I went to uni, so I did have a few scholarships, but the thing with scholarships here is we have a few that is about race, but like I said, I've never seen one that is like only Black people can apply to this. It's usually non-whites, or what tends to be the scholarship in the UK, because like I said in another video, we have more of a classism issue than a racism issue. So what we have here is socio-economic scholarships. So if your household income is below a certain point, then that scholarship is what we would apply for, or a grade base. So, I was smart, so I had a grade based scholarship.
So was I. So there you go. And look, I said I was smart, not anymore.
That tends to be the three groups we have. Like it'll either be a grade-based one, it will be your financial situation, which is very, very popular, or it'll be a minority, like all minorities, and also just remembered was like an essay competition ones, like you do the essays. So I think that's why, again, when I hear, and I said I felt it makes me uncomfortable when I think of a scholarship just for one group, because in the UK we bang on a lot about fair opportunities for everyone, and for me, I know that obviously they're trying to weigh the scales and stuff, but having something that only one type of person can apply to does not feel fair to me. And that's why I'm always in two minds about those sort of things. I'm like, on the one hand, it's needed to help like sort of bring that group up. But on the other hand, what about the people in this group that, although they happen to have that race, they're not rich, they could be way below the poverty line. So that's why I think the sort of money ones are a lot better. I'm going on a tangent.
Socioeconomic are definitely better. Well, and I agree with that. In America, our standardized tests are very geared towards white middle class families and above. So when a lot of the kids that are from these disadvantaged neighborhoods, especially POCs, get these tests and they're asked basic questions that you would know if you lived in a house, with a standard family unit, 2 parents, 2 kids, the dog, the cat, whatever. They're like, what is this? I live in a 1-bedroom, we eat. The only time I eat is when I go to school. When you have this type of differences in lifestyles, how can you expect the child to do well?
Exactly.
And so systemic racism is a big problem here. And I get that. And everything that we talk about as being mixed people, I know is taken with a grain of salt by a lot of people that are monoracial, especially as POCs, because of systemic racism. It is a real thing. We are not downplaying that at all. I'm never going to tell you that BLM is not needed. I'm never going to tell you. I will tell you the hierarchy, though, of being POCs. Like there is a hierarchy, whereas you have a class system economically, we have it with race, where right now, if you're Black, it seems to be the overpowering demographic of people that are traumatized and the people that are being attacked, which technically is not true, because we have Blacks at the top of the totem pole of racism and violence. Indigenous are at the bottom because nobody seems to give a crap about Native Americans at all. Asians are somewhere near the bottom because they're invisible. And a lot of them think of them as transformers, because so many, Asians come over here, they make a lot of money, they blend into white culture. And so they kind of look at them like, well, you don't know struggle. You're rich. Why are you, they don't look at the part of and first of all, they don't see that there are different Asian cultures first off. And they don't see that there are a lot of Asians that are literally working 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. They don't see that. And that a lot of elderly Asians are being beat down because they think they brought COVID over here, crap like that. So they're like invisible. They come, when they appear, it's like, wow, where'd you come from? You know what I mean? Then we have Hispanics and Latinas, who a lot of these families literally have been in this country for hundreds of years, help build this country. But all we see is them crossing the border illegally. So it's like, it's so crazy. It's all over the place in terms of how we see from cultural differences between how the struggle with Black people is all the way down to Indigenous on that. Sorry. As POCs, I have said this a million freaking times. We need to learn to support each other. We cannot expect people to ally us if we are not going to ally others. That is a problem that is happening in this country. It is ridiculous. And when you say it, people get in their feelings like, hey, the struggle is real, blah, blah, blah. I remember when we had a video, somebody said, why should we listen to mixed struggle when we have our own problems in the Black community? And I'm like, wow. Like, really?
how you really feel.
that got real quick. And I'm like, oh, yeah, see how it is. So yeah, like I said, the struggle is real. It is very real. This FlowerTower video has done nothing but show me that in my time as a high schooler, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. My daughter is 25 years old. And honestly, guys, I don't really see any difference from when she was a baby. Like her schooling, like how she went through, middle school, high school, even college, nothing has changed.
Wow.
They see her and they say, oh, you look like you're a little Asian. All of her forms say Asian. She does not put them on their forms. They've assigned her this role because she's, half Asian. She is Asian. Had she been darker, she probably would have been labeled as black or something else, because that is what they do when they need to put you in this box. And so, yeah, her video was very problematic because there were moments and nuggets of truth in it, which irritates me that I have to relate to somebody like her, because I don't like the fact that she is extremely racist. Especially, she's like, I think you said it best. She's like the female version of Umar Johnson. She gets those nuggets of truth and then just clouds it with all this racist, jargon out of her mouth. But at the end of the day, if we take nothing from this video, it's that as mixed people, we need our own category. We need our own stuff, because I am so tired of the fighting around us, especially with other mixed people. Other mixed people are joining in on putting other mixed people down. There are probably mixed people that are passing as black or white that are both saying biracial Becky. It is
100%.
problematic, guys. It is problematic. So, yeah, that's my last statement. You got any last words?
I 100% agree. I think I will forever advocate for mixed race people to have their own group, their own stuff. And I think, to be honest, it kind of goes in with what we said already, with knowing our history in terms of mixed race history and contributions. Once we have that all clearly defined, there would be no need for these biracial Becky comments, these like, you're taking from us, because we can't take from you if we've got our own stuff. And we're not, to be fair, we're not the ones taking anyway. But like, if we have our own stuff, then we can't be having all this infighting. And to be honest, I've said this in so many videos, there are such bigger fish to fry that we could work together and solve, instead of trying to put each other down when we all are saying the same thing, just in very different ways. So yeah.
I'm a little less racist. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Victoria, for being here. I know we do these videos in between meals, and it's definitely dinner time. So, so I don't know, chalk this up to being hangry and passionate. But again, check out Victoria Rain's channel. It'll be linked below. Make sure you like and subscribe. Also like and subscribe to this brand new channel. And then if you haven't, to my main channel, Approach the Nerd, the link will also be in the description, as well as a few of my other channels that are listed in this description box. But yeah, we will be back with more mixed content. Check out the video we just collabed on Victoria's channel. I'll link that when it is up again, where we discuss very quickly what we think about biracial Becky. No spoilers. And yeah, so guys, we appreciate you hanging in there with this mixed content world. This is a train we can't get off of. We know some of you can, but we appreciate you going, being along for the ride. So we'll let you know when we have our next train stop to pick you up and discuss more mixed erasure, mixed content, mixed politics. But until then, see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye.